Welcome back to the last Canada men's national team preview of the year. Just 8 months ago, Canada was prepping to compete in the 2025 CONCACAF Nations League Finals in LA, and now we're wrapping it up with 2 friendlies for the November international window for this year before we enter the year 2026. Ultimately, that is when the 2026 FIFA World Cup is. In this window, as mentioned, we have 2 friendlies against CONMEBOL opponents, and it'll all begin in Toronto, Ontario for the last home match of the year, hosting Ecuador. After that, Canada will head to Fort Lauderdale, Florida to have a rematch of the 2024 Copa America Quarterfinals against a depleted Venezuela. On the other hand, before I continue, there are a lot of stirrings with that match being in the US due to political tension, which, for those unaware, the US and Venezuela, they don't get along very well, and if you've seen that in the news, there has been increasing tension, especially with the state of Florida, and I would probably know more than all of you since I am a resident of the state, and it is a hot spot for Venezuelans, so we'll have to see what happens, whether this match is held behind closed doors. There's a possibility because of all of this. Anyways, we'll look through the same stuff as, we always do. We also have 3 new faces on this roster, so that's very exciting. But it is also a very banged up roster, so there are opportunities that continue to be available. And something just to note that this can allow other players to, lock up spots, maybe even the starting 11, and steal them from others. Also, before we continue on, I did want to give out some shout outs real quick. So first, congrats to the Canada Under-17 men's national team on advancing to the round 32 in the Under-17 World Cup. They finished second in the group. They were tied with everybody, but the results were enough. And best of luck this weekend against the Republic of Ireland. I also wanted to congratulate Atletico Ottawa on winning the CPL in Canadian heritage fashion. That was pretty cool. And I'll even say the same for AFC Toronto. And I did love that celebration from Lauren Rowan, April Lantine. And anyways, let's continue on. We're going to look at the upcoming schedule for Canada. Coming up, Canada will host their final match of the year against Ecuador. They entered this match being ranked 23rd after picking up 1-1 draws last month against the USA and Mexico. As mentioned, they are already qualified for the 2026 FIFA World Cup after finishing second in the table behind the 2022 World Cup and defending champions Argentina. This match will take place on November 13th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Local Time at BMO Field in Toronto, Ontario. Afterwards, Venezuela will host Canada in that 2024 Copa America Quarterfinals rematch. Venezuela enters this match in bad form after failing to qualify for the 2026 FIFA World Cup, let alone making it to the Interconfederation playoff, and they are coming off a 1-0 loss in the last window in Miami Gardens against the 2022 World Cup champions Argentina. Venezuela is currently ranked 50th by FIFA. This match is scheduled for November 18th at Chase Stadium in Fort Lauderdale, Florida at 8:30 p.m. Eastern and local time. Now it's time to look at the roster, which we have those new faces that I mentioned, and they are very promising faces, so this does make this much more exciting. As mentioned, there are a total of 26 players, and 2 of them are training players ultimately. And looking at the players that have been added since October, we see Theo Var return, who has been in solid form. Marcelo Flores gets his first call as a training player. Another first-time call-up, which is goalkeeper Owen Goodman. Veteran Junior Hoylett comes back into the fold. And we have another first-time call-up of Alfie Jones. So that's a total of 3 new faces, as mentioned. And we're going to look at the players that are out with injuries, and that includes Sam Adekubi, still out with his torn Achilles. Moise Bombito remains out with a fractured tibia. Alfonso Davies is finishing his ACL recovery. Luke De Figueroa ended up suffering an injury days before the roster announcement. Daniel Jefferson has suffered another injury once again. Alistair Johnston suffered another hamstring injury, is in risk of missing indefinite time after having surgery. And Liam Miller also has a hamstring injury, but it is less significant and he should be fine. Players that were excluded compared to the last window includes goalkeeper James Pantemis and also Jacob Schaffelberg, which is a head scratcher since he has picked his form back up. Alright, it's time to look at our 3 new faces, and each one, as mentioned, I've said it a million times, it's exciting, They all have great futures with this national team, so I don't want to waste time here. So let's begin with the first one, and that first player is Marcelo Flores. And for those unaware, he previously played for Mexico in 3 matches, but because he played those 3 matches before turning 21 and did not play more than 3 matches, it allows him to make that one-time switch. He's a training player, but he could be crucial, especially with the position that Ali Ahmed currently holds, because there's a lot of jeopardy behind him right now. But anyways, more about Flores. He's a 22-year-old attacking midfielder and even a winger. He plays for Tigres UANL, a league in Mexico, and they're the 2nd seed right now heading into their playoffs. They're a big Mexican club, and he's from Georgetown, Ontario, and this year he's played in 15 matches and he's contributed a goal and assist in those 15 matches, and he's been used on the left as a midfield and winger primarily, so that is something that Canada can look into when it comes to depth. The next player is 21-year-old goalkeeper Owen Goodman. He ended up solving his citizenship issues, and he enters this camp as the 3rd goalkeeper against Gavron, who is here as a training player, but he is probably the most threatening 3rd goalkeeper that's been on this roster, and I couldn't even tell you when. Goodman is from Alliston, Ontario, and he currently plays for Huddersfield Town in League 1. He's currently on loan from Crystal Palace to the Premier League, and notably earlier this year, he led AFC Wimbledon to promotion from League 2 to League 1, and he was also the league's goalkeeper of the year. And he's looking to continue the strive for greatness in this season. He has played in 9 matches in all competitions, and he has won 6 of those, including 4 clean sheets in League 1 this year. Huddersfield Town, they currently sit 10th in League 1. Lastly, but definitely not least, the one player that should make an immediate impact to this national team is Alfie Jones. He's a veteran at 28 years old, but he is also a big center back at 6'3". His roots are from Hillcrest, Alberta, and he currently plays for Middlesbrough of the EFL Championship, who are currently seeking promotion to the Premier League, and they do hold a guaranteed spot right now, sitting in 2nd. This season, he's played in 15 matches in all competitions, and he's scored 1 goal, as well as he's also worn the captain's armband once this year. He comes into this window with a red card, however, which is the only negative. Seems a little excessive, but oh well. Now it's time to look at the projected starting 11 for myself. I'm not going to twist anything at any of you because the lineup's going to look pretty similar as we've seen the past couple of months. But injuries, they do play a role. So this formation will also be a 4-4-2. So beginning with the goalkeeper, I'm going to select MLS Goalkeeper of the Year, Dane St. Clair. I think I've seen a lot better out of him lately, and because of that, he does get the go-ahead over Crépeau, and he does need to be cautious, and that's me mentioning Crépeau as his spot is slowly becoming in jeopardy. Out on the left back, it remains to be Victor Lorea due to the injuries, but this may be all for him in that position for the time being. In the left center back position, it's the veteran and set piece man Derek Cornelius. At the right center back role, I enter Joel Waterman, who is in solid form as a center back, and why yes, Alfie Jones is better. Waterman is more established and comes off a successful season with the Chicago Fire. Out on the right is Nico Seeger, who could make this his role due to the injuries. Moving up the midfield, and out on the left, we have Ali Ahmed, who continues to hold that position. He seems to be like the only one that's pretty stable in that role due to all the changes behind him. In the center midfield on the left, it's the captain, Stefan Estecchia, who is coming into this window on low minutes. Alongside him is Ismail Kone, who continues to be in great form. Out on the right, it's Tajan Buchanan, who looks like the best player on this side still. And up front, it remains to be Jonathan David, who is out of form right now. And on the right, it is Daniel O'Shea. Now, we're going to look at the substitutes that I would like to see with this formation and players I like to see get involved. So, the first one, it is uncertain whether Alfie Jones will play due to citizenship issues currently. But as mentioned, he is a very effective center back with his height, and he is also very strong and physical. And he is confidently a top 2 center back on the national team currently, looking at like players that are on the roster not injured, but he does know he has to fight for that role. And with that being said, he's a shutdown defender, and replacing Joel Waterman would be a great opportunity for him. With the next substitute, I talked about how Stefan Estacchio hasn't been informed due to the minutes, and it did show last window. Someone's also going to have to step up their leadership, which I mentioned in what we learned when he goes off the pitch. Anyways, I see Nathan Saliba being the one to come into the midfield, as he is in better form this 1 year, and currently Saliba is starting to find his footing back at the right time. And then for our third substitute, I would say Junior Hoylett isn't here for no reason. Stats surely don't say it, but he was the one brought back in the camp, and maybe is looking for leadership late, which I did mention in the last substitute. And he continues to wear the badge with pride, and I like his chances of, doing good things. And especially because in this match against Ecuador, he's going to be dealing with some Premier League players, and he has that experience, so I have him replacing Ahmed. And then substitute 4, you could argue that Theovar, he looks like himself again. He's in great form lately. He's loving life in Switzerland. He enters his window with some big goals, which Canada may need to rely on late. And I think him replacing O'Shea works out for this one. And then also our last sub, which will be up front as well. One David goes in, another one goes out. Promise David, he's losing form, but I do like his presence. If it has to come down to it, I think a big body could be crucial. His shots lately haven't been going on target, but you can say the same for Jonathan David as well. Both of them are losing playing time, but as mentioned, I'm looking for a big presence at the end of these matches, so that's what it's going to come down to ultimately. Now it's time to make some predictions against these CONMEBOL sides. First, we know that Ecuador, it's going to be a battle, and they got some really good players for sure. And you could argue the back may have some struggles, but I thought what they did against Australia, we'll see more of the same, and they'll not get as stretched out as they did against Colombia. And with all that being said, I'm going to give Canada a 1-0 win. And I see the likes of Jonathan David getting a goal. And with the other match, the one against Venezuela, the reality is, I said at the beginning of this video, they're depleted. The squad's weak. I've looked at it. It's not impressive. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but one way or another, if you know what I'm saying there, I see a 3-0 win, and we can see goals coming from Ahmed, Jonathan David, and Barr coming off the bench. Alright, so that's going to do it. I hope those in Toronto indeed enjoy the match, as I have heard it's sold out, so fantastic. And even those who are going to fall break after the snow's taken over in Florida, told you to just make up fall break. But anyways, I did just want to say thanks for watching, everybody, and hit the subscribe button if you're new here. Other than that, have a good one, everyone, and I'll see you soon.